How much faith do you have in the Nets without James Harden?
All right, so the Nets lost to the Bucks again. Now, the first time they lost to them on Sunday, Giannis was incredible. In this game, he scored 36, but he also went 11 from 30 from the floor. So it wasn't like you got a lights-out performance for him, and the Nets got 70 combined from Kyrie and KD, and they still lost. Why? They're under 500 this year with Kevin Durant and Kyrie, but no James Harden. If they don't have him, they're not winning a championship. They're not winning the East. And I'm not sure how many series they're going to win in the East because it was layup lines in the fourth quarter. The Bucks had a run where they scored 7 buckets in a row that were layups right there at the rim. And it wasn't like it was a whole lot of difficulty or going through and over people. The Nets can't stop anybody. And when it comes down to it for this team, even with James Harden coming back, yeah, they're going to be able to score, but everybody turns into the Nets when you play against the Nets because the Nets play the kind of defense that makes anybody else look like the Nets on offense. So the best chance they got is just flat out outscoring people. They can't do that with only 2 guys. They will absolutely need the third.
Yeah, Bo, I agree. There's a lot of questions going around on ESPN today. Has Giannis figured out the Nets? No, I think Giannis has just figured out that the Nets don't really play defense particularly well, because you talk about what his final stat line ended up being. At one point, he was perfect against Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin did settle in a little bit, and he started seeing a little bit more contested jumpers. But no, I mean, they need their closer. They need a finisher, the Nets. They are 6-10 in clutch games, right? I think clutch games are something like with the score within 5 in the final 2 or 3 minutes of the game. They're 6-10 when they don't have James Harden. They are 20-2 in clutch games when James Harden plays. So yeah, they need James Harden in order to do this. But I want to know what Giannis is doing, okay? Because I know that there's also a lot of talk about how the Bucks seem to always do this in the regular season and then fall apart in the playoffs. Giannis has added something to his arsenal of weapons that he hadn't had previously. We know Giannis was a terrible jump shooter. Dead last in the league the last couple of seasons, terrible. Since December, where he was 200th in the league with his jump shot percentages, he has since April become the 50th best jump shooter in the NBA. He's shooting 47% on jumpers. So that's something I think that will allow him, as we move into the playoffs, another sort of wrinkle, something that he needed to do. But no, I'm still not going to panic over a Nets team that got beat by the Bucks, and the Bucks beating a Sixers team that didn't have Joel Embiid until they're at their full complement. But I would certainly say that if James Harden's not part of that equation, they're not going anywhere, to Bo's part.
Oh, I'm panicking hard, Elle, and it's part of for the reason that you said there. What Giannis can do against the Nets, this is probably going to be the 2-3 matchup. And what Giannis has done against the Nets is taken a bunch of threes. I'll take them if you give them to me and make it in the 30% range. That's good enough for somebody to have to run out occasionally, right? And obviously the only way the Nets seem to be able to guard the rim is putting all 5 guys in front of it. So when you get guys coming out to Giannis, then it's what we've seen. It's the layup line. And so you start to wonder, what is it about the Nets that's going to change? James Harden, is he going to give you the defensive presence that you need? No. Will he give you better scoring down the stretch, or sort of the pace of the game will be slower because he can control it? Sure, I'll give you that. But look at some of the things that happened even yesterday. That 18-1 run by the Bucks. Kevin Durant said after the game, he said, one of our strengths is going to be that we've had so many people in different situations that we can call on that come the playoffs. No, you can't really do that if you're not showing that in the regular season. And where do you show that? In clutch situations like that. You can't let the other team go off by 17 points when it matters most. It's a sign that you can't really call upon it when you actually need it. And again, what is it that James Harden is giving you that you don't have right now? A little bit more stability in the offense? Sure. Not going to protect the rim, not going to defend Giannis whatsoever, and frankly gives you one more average defender out there, not a great one on the perimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and say that if this is the 2-3 matchup, the Nets will not make it out of the second round, regardless of James Harden is there, especially because he's still going to take some time to get into a rhythm. We still don't know when he's going to be back, so I'm full out panicked.
That last thing is important, because if there was one lesson to learn from last year's NBA season, you can't ask a team that's never won it before to decide that they just going to hit a switch, because that was the thing with the Clippers. People are like, hey, man, well, they'll just hit the switch at some point. They got guys in and out. They'll just hit the switch. But that was a team that had never done it, and you saw how the season ended for them that year. The Nets are in the same place, man. They have not done this together before. They barely played together this year with the 3 players that matter the most. Ain't no switch hitting just going to happen and then you walk to a championship. I just can't see it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.